In the NBA, some players shine brightly, forever etched in the history of basketball. But what about the underrated stars?
There you go.
The players who wowed us but faded from the spotlight too soon. Brandon Roy, a talented player whose career was sadly cut short. He was a three-time NBA All-Star from 2008 to 2010. Then there's Michael Redd, a second-round pick who defied expectations, once scoring a Milwaukee Bucks record 57 points in a game and holding an NBA record with 8 three-pointers in a single quarter. Roy Hibbert, a dominant 7 feet 2 inches center, made the all-defensive second team in 2014, averaging nearly 15.8 points and 3.8 blocks during the 2013 playoffs. These aren't just names, they're statistical marvels whose stories need to be told. If you enjoy discovering the hidden stories of basketball's unsung heroes, subscribe now. Don't miss our upcoming features on players who shaped the game but are often overlooked. Brandon Roy. Brandon Roy wasn't just a good player, he was special. Drafted 6th overall by the Minnesota Timberwolves in 2006 and traded to the Portland Trail Blazers on draft night, he won Rookie of the Year in 2007, giving Portland fans hope for the future.
A few with the career arc of Brandon Roy, Rookie of the Year, 3-time All-Star, retired before the age of 30.
From 2008 to 2010, Roy was a 3-time NBA All-Star and made the All-NBA second team in 2009, looking like a future MVP candidate. Portland finally had a star worth believing in. Then came the injuries. Roy suffered from degenerative knee issues with no cartilage, leading to multiple surgeries starting in 2008. He kept trying to come back, but his knees wouldn't cooperate, and the pain was clear every time he stepped on the court. In December 2011, at just 27 years old, Roy announced his retirement because of his knee problems.
Brandon Roy, who is excited to be unretired and back in the NBA. That's ahead as we roll on with Timberwolves basketball here on Fox.
He tried one last comeback with the Minnesota Timberwolves in 2012 but played only 5 games before being sidelined again. That signature first step? Gone. Still, Roy's numbers show how good he was. He averaged 18.8 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 4.7 assists across 326 career games, scoring over 6,000 points. In 15 playoff games, he averaged 16.3 points per game. Roy had it all: scoring, vision, leadership, and calm under pressure. If injuries hadn't ended his career, he could have been one of the best players of the late 2000s and early 2010s. Michael Redd. The next one is that Michael Redd deserves a serious mention. Redd wasn't drafted to be a star. He was a second-round pick in 2000. But he didn't let that stop him. He made the most of every chance he got. In 2006, he dropped 57 points in a single game, still the most ever scored by a Milwaukee Bucks player. And if you rewind to the 2002 season, Redd hit 8 three-pointers in a single quarter, an NBA record that still turns heads today. But just when it looked like he was entering his prime, injuries struck. Tearing both his ACL and MCL changed the entire course of his career. He gave it everything, trying to come back, but it was never quite the same again. Even with that setback, Redd didn't leave the game empty-handed. He won Olympic gold with Team USA at the 2008 Beijing Games, standing alongside the biggest names in basketball. Across 629 games, Redd quietly averaged 19 points per game. He was consistent, reliable, and deadly with the ball, even if he never craved the spotlight. Michael Redd might not be trending anymore, but real hoop fans remember. He was a silent assassin whose legacy runs deeper than most realize. Roy Hibbert. There was a time when Roy Hibbert was the wall in Indiana. At 7 feet 2 inches, he made getting to the rim a nightmare for anyone. In the 2013 playoffs, he averaged 15.8 points and 3.8 blocks per series, swatting shots with ease. His defense even earned him a spot on the NBA All-Defensive Second Team in 2014. But the NBA changed fast. When the Warriors popularized small ball, playing faster, spacing the floor, and firing threes, traditional big men like Hibbert suddenly became liabilities. He couldn't switch onto guards or keep up with the pace. The very thing that made him special, his size and rim protection, became a weakness in a league that no longer valued post-heavy centers. Drafted 17th overall by Toronto in 2008 and traded to Indiana, Hibbert built a solid career, averaging 10 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks over 9 seasons. But as teams moved to 5-out offenses, his style didn't fit. He couldn't even land a roster spot by the end. That's why the NBA forgets Roy Hibbert. The league evolved, and it left behind one of the best rim protectors of his era. Monta Ellis.
Except in the same category as D-Wade. I mean, at the end of the day, only thing.
There was a time when Monta Ellis felt unstoppable. But somehow, even after racking up nearly 15,000 career points, he's become one of those NBA stars that fans barely bring up anymore. At just 32, Ellis was already out of the league, and as the months passed, a comeback started looking more like a dream than a plan. That wasn't because he couldn't score, he absolutely could. Monta averaged 17.8 points per game across 833 matchups. But the narrative around him? Empty stats. A lot of folks believed he wasn't the kind of player who helped you win. Even though he grabbed the NBA's Most Improved Player award in 2007 and had a solid stat line with 3.5 rebounds, 4.6 assists, and 1.7 steals a night, it just didn't translate to playoff success. He appeared in 38 playoff games and averaged just 13.7 points per game. No memorable moments, no deep runs, no signature clutch shots burned into fans' memories. Monta Ellis wasn't bad, far from it. He just played in a strange space, too good to be ignored but not impactful enough to be remembered. And that's how you quietly fade from the spotlight. Josh Howard. When was the last time you heard someone bring up Josh Howard's name in an NBA conversation? He's one of those guys who quietly disappeared from the spotlight. He broke into the league with the Dallas Mavericks and immediately made noise. He earned a spot on the NBA All-Rookie second team in 2004, and by 2007, he was an All-Star. When the Mavs were making playoff runs, Howard was right there in the mix, stepping up with 14.8 points and nearly 7 rebounds a night in 66 postseason games. But things started going downhill after he left Dallas. He bounced around to 3 different teams, trying to find his rhythm again, but injuries just wouldn't let him be great. A torn ACL was the final blow, and he never quite recovered enough to reclaim his spot in the league. It's a shame. Josh Howard might not have had the longest career, but his peak years in Dallas were legit. He was a do-it-all forward who brought energy, versatility, and toughness every night. He gave the Mavs some serious production during their playoff pushes and put up over 7,200 points in his career. So yeah, Josh Howard might not come up in everyday NBA debates, but if you watched him in his prime, you know, this guy could hoop. He's one of those NBA stars we've all kind of forgotten about, but shouldn't have. These guys weren't just flashes, they were stars who made you stop and watch. Brandon Roy's smooth game ended too soon. Michael Redd, a second-round steal, could score from anywhere. Roy Hibbert was a defensive wall, but couldn't outrun a changing league. Monta Ellis was a walking bucket who slipped through the cracks. Josh Howard was a playoff warrior before injuries took over. Each left a story deeper than the box score. They weren't forgotten. They were overlooked in a league that moves fast and forgets faster. Which one had you jumping off the couch back then? Drop their name in the comments.